the Chinese simply hate Pompeo because they see him as targeting China everywhere.
During the winters, they cannot launch a major offensive along the LAC, but in pockets, they may try.
India and the United States have inked a landmark defense agreement that will allow sharing of high-end military technology, classified satellite data, and critical information between the two countries. I have with me former Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal and former Air Marshal Dhiraj Kukreja to understand what BECA, this key defense agreement, means for India. Mike Pompeo, immediately after signing of this agreement, had very strong words for China today and said that the US stands with India to deal with any kind of threat and to defend its sovereignty, to quote unquote. That's a very strong statement.
I don't think we should exaggerate the import of these statements in terms of the American commitment to fight our battles on our behalf. The Chinese simply hate Pompeo because they see him as targeting China everywhere that he goes. And if you read the Chinese commentaries, they're very unkind towards Pompeo. That's one. The other is that in the joint statement that we've issued after 2+2, China is not mentioned by name anywhere. Though, of course, if you read a lot of the articles in the joint statement, you can easily conclude that a large part of it on the Indo-Pacific side is directed at China. It's very clear. And exactly. Pompeo has, crossed the T's and dotted the I's publicly. He used this occasion to express his American objectives in terms of how the quadrilateral framework and the Indo-Pacific concept should evolve, with China as the threat against which all the four countries and others, if they can join later and promote and accept this concept, would be dealing with it. That's very, very clear. And actually, in a sense, Pompeo is doing our work. We don't have to mention China or say anything about China. The moment our interlocutor, the United States, says China and we keep quiet, it's very clear that our thinking is the same, though the expression of the thinking may be different because United States has a very large canvas of problems with China across the board because China is actually trying to now match and excel US power and compete with it and in critical areas surpass it. And this BRI and the critical technologies that they have, et cetera, are part of that. But if you look at the joint statement, I think there's a lot of very important things about supply chains, for example, critical supply chains. Right. It's mentioned in the joint statement. And what we know what it is, that the idea is to move out these critical supply chains from China. There is on the BRI has been indirectly attacked. If you look at connectivity and how the connectivity is described in the joint statement, it puts together all the reservations that each country has with regard to the BRI. That has been put in. And apart from that, of course, various other things that have been announced in reinforcing India-US defense ties. So I think the message is very clear, and Pompeo has made it even more explicit that the two countries should and would work together in the future to deal with the mounting Chinese threat, which is not only to India, but to the United States, to Southeast Asia, and in fact, to my mind, the world at large, because Xi Jinping's ambitions have been publicly expressed, and by 2049, he wants to be the dominant power, or at worst, a G2, where China and United States are the dominant powers, and others have them to choose which side they have to be on.
How do you think that China is going to respond at the LAC?
I don't think it will go the whole hog, but it was definitely rattled. And it was rattled not well before the BECA, because it did not expect such a response from India, from the Indian political system, knowing or having studied the Indian political system and knowing the Indian military capabilities. They were foxed. They were absolutely, if I could use the word, bamboozled by the Indian response. And so BECA has just added to their discomfort. And now they will definitely try to find out an easy way out by saying that, okay, we'll discuss this LAC, because they've already spoken about the LAC as what it was in 1959, which India said we don't agree to it, which India has again responded strongly that we don't agree to this. But the thing is that we have to, we cannot afford to let down our guard, because as you said, to go the whole hog, they may just surprise us. They may just surprise us. But then in winters, it is difficult to go the whole hog. They can just hang on to their positions and move during the winters. If anything, that would, if it comes up, that would come up is sometimes in June next year, because that is when the snows have melted, then the temperatures have risen slightly, because the winter is extremely harsh in that region. And it is not just the snow, the heavy snowfall, it is the strong winds, which, which are very difficult to handle equipment in that, whether it is RT guns, whether it is tanks, and or whether it is a normal troop transporter. So if anything that will come up is June, not before June. We have prepared for the winters. Usually we do have, if I could call it, an experience from Siachen. So we know how to handle the cold weather and do what to make our troops safe inside their igloos. We call them the igloos, but they're not the traditional Eskimo igloos. But we have the igloos. We have the other equipment to keep the igloos warm, and we have quite a robust supply system that goes on from the plains, from Chandigarh to Leh to Thois, and by helicopters to further ahead. And with our airfields at DBO, the Daulat Bed, Oldi, and Chushul also active, our aircraft can land there and offload equipment. The logistics chain, our logistics chain is quite well established. So as far preparations for the winter is concerned, I think the Indian Army has done a lot, and the Indian Air Force is there because Indian Air Force has the experience of so many years of supplying to Siachen. I myself have done that in my younger days, if I could call it. But that is how it is. We have a very robust system in place. Launch a major offensive along the LAC, but in pockets, they may try to test out the Indian defenses. In small pockets, whether it is at Pangong Tso, whether it is a little north towards Galwan or further north towards Karakoram, because they are upset about the road to Karakoram via DBO. They are upset about that. So they may want to test out what is the condition of the road at so-and-so place or so-and-so place A, B, C, to test out what is the Indian logistics chain, how will the Indian Army coping up